Welcome to episode 54 of the Gambots podcast. I'm your host, Eric, and this is my co-host.
It's Christian.
On this week's episode, Christian and I both watched the newly released Disney Plus movie, Noelle. We also both saw the newly released Knives Out. And finally, we're just going to give our initial impressions of Disney Plus now that it's been out for a few weeks. But first, Christian, we chose to watch Noelle as our Christmas movie this week. What did you think of it?
It was pretty weird, but I think I came down really liking it.
Yeah, it started out to the point where I would say the first 5 minutes I didn't really understand what was going on. Like, it starts out showing two little kids in bed, and obviously this girl's trying to catch Santa Claus coming to their house. But I was like, what is this kid's window? Who would live in a house like that? And then it turns out it's Santa Claus's kids. And I was like, okay, it makes a little more sense now.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that was the premise. And I was like, is this going to be an elf situation where Santa Claus accidentally kidnaps this little girl? Or what's... And I was like, okay, no, it's just all a little play that they're doing for each other.
Yeah, I have actually no idea what the premise of this movie is. I went in blind. I didn't even read the blurb underneath it because I was trying to cram it in before we recorded today. One thing, I'm just going to start off on the beginning. I thought it was hilarious that it was very clear Santa Claus's daughter, Noelle, wanted to be Santa Claus, and they're just like, nope, it's going to be his son, and completely ignored her. And they're like, you can make some cards, you do something like that, and just like shuffled her to the side.
Yeah, so I don't know. This is the part of this movie that felt weird, is like it tried kind of like half-heartedly to delve into some social issues. Like, it definitely tried to make a statement about the patriarchy. It was also, I think, very unintentionally self-aware about like exploitation of labor. And like, I can't imagine Disney intentionally making a movie where they were like, oh yeah, the algorithms are all bad and whatever. Like, Disney seems like, I don't know, kind of a la Amazon, where it's like, no, bottom line is what's important, and we're going to exploit our labor if we want to.
Oh, yeah. And something else, I mean, just on things that were weird that I thought made no sense. Santa was like, Noelle, keep your brother's spirits up. And then for the next, 20 years, that's what she does. She's essentially like a cheerleader, making cards and buying stuff. And then when she's like talking to their brother and she's like, oh no, like maybe you should take a break, everyone in the town is like, way to go, Noelle, you're so useless, like, always. And it's like, what? Like, this was the job she was given. She clearly wanted something else, and they're like, no, you can't do something else. And then, like, they blamed her for everything. And they kept going throughout the movie. She's like, everyone's like, Noelle, you're so selfish, you only like to get presents. But the whole time, like, she seemed like a pretty selfless person. It made no sense, the elves' reactions towards her.
100%, I would never have moved back there.
Right, like, they seemed horrible to her.
Yeah, like, that sucked. Like, I don't know why she would ever, like, I mean, the story needs her to, obviously, but I was like, no, absolutely not.
Right, and so, I guess we should go over the premise of this movie real quick. So, the premise of this movie is Santa Claus has two kids, one played by Anna Kendrick, who's his daughter, and the other one played by Bill Hader, who's his son. Santa Claus dies, so then Bill Hader's supposed to be the new Santa Claus. He is terrible at it, and then he ends up running away to live in Phoenix. And then Noelle has to go get him, or else Christmas will be ruined. And this whole time, like, the North Pole is just filled with elves who all hate, like, the Kringles at this point because they're abandoning Christmas.
Yeah, like, Billy Eichner is chosen as the new Santa after Bill Hader leaves because he's like the closest male heir, I guess. And he's basically just a Jeff Bezos situation where it's like, yeah, like I had said, like the algorithms are in charge. Uh, Kids aren't nice unless they do everything 100% perfect. It's not about good outweighing bad. It's about there cannot be any bad. So like he's sending them form letters that said like they don't get Christmas presents because they didn't floss. It's yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a lot.
Billy Eichner in this was hilarious, especially when he like took on the complete Silicon Valley tech bro take on Santa, where he's like, "We'll ship all the presents with drones and icebergs." And you're right, like when the kids were reading the emails to Santa, they're like, "Santa, why would you send me this?" And it was just like I was dying. I thought that part was
And
hilarious.
he had like the red suit and the white hair, but the white hair was pulled back into a man bun.
Yeah, I was wondering because he had brown hair originally. Did he just put a wig on?
I couldn't tell if he put a wig on or if he like used that, I don't know, like that's hair spray paint stuff to like silverize it.
Yeah. Uh, and they sort of delve into Santa's powers in this one a little bit, like a lot of the movies try to. One of them I thought was hilarious was when they're just trying to determine if kids are naughty or nice by just looking at pictures, and I was like, okay, I guess this is how Santa rolls.
Oh yeah, and there was a lot of like Apple promotion in this movie that I was not expecting from a Disney product.
Oh, there were two things that were promoted heavily, and I was like, did they pay for this? It was Apple and the iPad and the Genius Bar, and the other one was Petco.
Oh yeah. Yeah, every single kid wanted an iPad, and every time it happened, like, yeah, that was a little strange to me.
Right. Another thing I thought was strange was Noelle's shoes were ice skates that you could also ski down a mountain with.
Oh yeah, and they were like Heelys, where if you click to the if you
Yes.
click the back of the shoe, the ice skates popped out the bottom, and I was like, ooh, that's I don't know if I like it or not, but I think I like it.
Yeah. Oh
Once they
man.
get to
Uh,
Phoenix, I was kind of like I was a little off board on this. Obviously, Billy Eichner brought me back on board because I love him and almost everything. I've been watching a lot of Billy on the Street on Netflix. But once they got to Phoenix, I think I was 100% on board. Like I really enjoy like fish out of water situations. So Anna Kendrick landing and being like, "Oh, I guess I need real money that isn't like chocolate covered in gold foil."
Man, when I found out they were going to Phoenix, I was hoping for a bad Santa crossover because I think that takes place in Arizona and maybe
And
Phoenix.
I loved the like I mean, we talked last week about like a dumb shoehorned in romantic subplot in Last Christmas with the like the shopkeeper, but I liked in this one so much more the like weird half-hearted romantic subplot with the woman who owned the shopping center and the Petco guy.
Yeah, I think this one was fine because it took up a total screen time of maybe a minute and a
Yeah.
half.
I thought this was a lot funnier.
Yeah, man, just getting back to that, they treat Noel so bad. Like everyone treats Noel bad in this movie. When Bill Hader disappears, I don't know if you remember the newspaper article was Santa disappears. We're not blaming anyone, but you know, dot 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 with a picture of her.
Didn't notice that. That's
It's
funny.
like a ton of passive aggressiveness like lodged her way throughout the whole movie. Like even when her mom sends a letter to be like, "You got to bring your brother home," the opening part is just like crapping
Yep.
on her.
We know that you're a huge disappointment to this family.
Right. It's completely undeserved. Like she was trying her hardest to get her brother out there when he clearly was the incompetent one.
And when they find Bill Hader in the yoga studio, I was so happy. Like yoga teacher Bill Hader Santa Claus easily my favorite part of this movie.
Did you notice they're playing Deck the Halls and with like yoga style music while he was doing his
I did
yoga?
not. That's outstanding.
Yeah. That was great because he was like, "Oh yeah, I love the warm." Like Bill Hader clearly was not meant to be Santa Claus, but he ends up back there in the end for some reason.
Yeah, that's what like I really thought they were just gonna let him live his life, but I mean he opens up the North Pole yoga studio, so he's fine.
He gets halfway there. some like this movie generally sounds funny, but they also I thought took it in a direction I wasn't expecting. Generally, in kids' movies, they tend to gloss over, some bad aspects of life with Christmas movies. And this one, like you meet the kid whose parent is divorced, the girl whose mom doesn't have work and she's deaf and she just wants her mom to get a job. Kids in general who are just unhappy from circumstances that are not of their own making. And, Noelle kind of trying to make their life slightly better with that, which I don't normally see in children movies like this.
Yeah, I was surprised at some of the more like realistically dark elements of this. I was not expecting that.
So, did you particularly like any of the cast over anyone else?
I like Bill Hader. Like I said, I like Yoga Studio Bill Hader. I thought he was fun. I think, weirdly, Bill Hader is becoming maybe not one of my favorite like comedic actors, but like he's up there. Like I thought he was really good in the second It. I thought he was really good in this. I thought he was good in Trainwreck, despite the rest of that movie being a train wreck. Yeah, I think Bill Hader may have been my favorite character in this, even though I do love Anna Kendrick. I think she's just a national
If you haven't
treasure.
watched it, yeah, you should check out Bear. He's really good in that too.
Yeah, I know. I it's been on my HBO list, and I need to get around to
I
it.
liked Anna Kendrick a lot. I also like the Private Eye Detective. I thought he did a pretty good job, but I did not look up who that actor was. It wasn't anyone I had recognized.
I liked the
Oh
elf.
yes,
I'm trying to remember her name.
uh, I don't know her actor name. They're just like elf lady or something in the movie.
Yeah, I thought she was funny because she kept coming back with like different hairstyles and
I
everything
will say
else.
though, in the beginning, I was a little unsure what her role was. I thought she was like a house slave, like Dobby in Hogwarts, because everyone was like really mean to her, and she just pretty much got all the grunt work.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that was where I made my note about Disney's making a weird self-aware movie about exploitation of labor because they were like, "Oh, it's your job to take care of it. So here's my like candy cane underwear. These need washed." And she was like, "Great, my wish came true." And I'm
Right.
like, "Ooh."
But then they're like friend. I guess they're friends technically. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
I did not completely understand her role at first.
I also did like that the Christmas run goes real poorly at first.
Oh yeah, that was because I thought the movie was over, and then there was like 10 or 15 minutes
So did
left,
I.
and yeah, she struggles on those first couple houses.
And I thought that was good. Like, even though that this is like her destiny or whatever, like the first run is always she doesn't jump in the seat and is like amazing at it right off the bat.
Right, it takes your time to grow until like the homeless shelter people call her Santa. And when they first showed that, they didn't show her put any presents down, and I was like, did she give them any presents at all? And then she's like, I gave her like a not even a job interview, like a posting for a job.
Yeah, I think the one thing that they tried to cover so much about like the mythology of Santa Claus, like you tap the chimney with the magic candy cane and it opens, and like the suit will fit you magically, and the reindeer can fly and whatever else. But the one thing they never touched on was the
Right.
speed. Like at no point did they address because it seems like she's just moving normal speed going around the world, and it's like no, like there. I feel like that was the one thing that was missing from the mythology was they should have at least half-heartedly tried to address how she's gonna visit 7.8 million houses or billion houses in an evening.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Because they did explain almost every other power.
Yeah.
Uh,
The other real awkward during the not going well run was when she climbed out of that chimney and it was just that family sitting there eating
they're
noodles.
like, we're Jewish. And she just walked out.
And she just went like, okay, and climbed back up the chimney. Like I was waiting for like, oh, that's okay. Like Christmas is for everyone, and she just doesn't say anything and leaves.
Right, but we know in this world because we met one of the nice people who's a Buddhist. He's on the
Yeah,
nice list.
yeah, that was a real strange scene.
Obviously, this doesn't have any box office numbers because it's on Disney Plus, but on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 50% score with the critics and a 65% score with the audience.
Yeah, I'd probably side with the audience. Like, full disclosure, like, this is not a great movie. I'm a sucker for, like, good old-fashioned feel-good Christmas movies where the moral is just, like, it's Christmas, be nice to people, and, like, so I went into this expecting to, like, roll my eyes a lot, and I did, but at the end of the day, like, I would probably watch it again.
See, well, I mean, I guess I'm kind of on the same side as you. I actually really like this one. I thought it was going to be just a very generic Christmas movie, but Bill Hader and Anna Kendrick, I think, elevated above that. And it's like a fun kids' Christmas movie. And I don't know if I would watch it yearly, but it's one I can definitely see myself going back to if I'm in the mood for a Christmas movie. Like normally, I have 3 Christmas movies I watch every year, being Muppet Christmas Carol, Christmas Vacation, and I don't think everyone watches this one, but I really like Bad Santa, so that's on my list too. But I would put this in the rotation.
Yeah, I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
I was surprised. I actually think this could have been in theaters if they wanted to.
Oh yeah, I agree.
This week, Christian and I both saw the newly released Knives Out. Now, this is directed by Rain Johnson and has a really big cast, but the 3 main characters, but the 3 main cast members are Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, and Ana de Armas. Christian, do you want to give well, first, this is going to contain spoilers because I don't think you can really talk about this movie without spoiling it. Christian, do you want to give a rundown of what the plot of this is?
Yeah, so it's kind of complicated, kind of not. It's like a combination. What I was telling people that were coming in asking about it, I was telling people it's like a combination of Murder on the Orient Express and Clue. So it's this extremely wealthy family, and the grandfather, like the patriarch of the family, dies under mysterious circumstances right after his birthday. And they rule it a suicide, but then this other detective comes in having received like an anonymous tip and an envelope of money and is told to solve the case because it definitely wasn't a suicide. And so then he comes in and starts interviewing all the relevant family members and people that had worked in the house and everything else to try and figure out the truth behind what seems like a cut and dry suicide, but maybe isn't.
Right, and so this movie, when I saw the previews, I completely thought this would be a murder mystery, but again, spoilers, you more or less get the idea of who the murderer is within 20 minutes of the movie.
Oh yeah, I was shocked.
Yeah, and then the movie turns from just necessarily being a mystery movie, which it still is, but also then a game of like cops and robbers where in quotes, who the murderer is, while Daniel Craig's trying to figure everything out, and so it's like you just see them trying to like actually mess with the investigation, and I thought that part was really well done because I was not expecting that.
Yeah, when they reveal, because yeah, they give you basically a play-by-play of exactly what happened that night, how he dies and why, within, like you said, like 20-25 minutes, and I was stunned. And so yeah, the rest of the movie is just these people's lives like moving forward, and then they throw another wrench into it with the inheritance situation.
Right. I will say I loved that they took the trope of the genius detective and turned it on its side a little bit. Like there would be scenes where Daniel Craig's character would be like looking at stuff, and then in the background the person would be getting like the trestle from the window or whatever, like the dog would bring it, and they just throw it away to like get it out of view, or they would like delete the tape footage and stuff like that, where it's just like you're always expecting Sherlock or whatever, where he's like seeing everything and really in the background like he's missing stuff.
Yeah, or like when they find the body while he is just out in the car listening to an iPod.
Oh my gosh, like that was such a great scene because there's like these ambulance and stuff rolling by, and he's just like singing along. And then once people run by, he's like, "Oh crap!" and like it's into action.
Well, I mean, you brought up James Bond, which brings me to my thing about Daniel Craig is like he's playing this gentleman detective character who's definitely supposed to be like a Hercule Poirot, Sherlock Holmes character. And I mean, it's Daniel Craig who has played James Bond and definitely has the British accent, so that is 100%. I was expecting him to come on screen with like the like received pronunciation British accent, but he's got like a deep South Kentucky accent, and it really threw me for like the first 30-35 minutes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess I knew that was going to happen because I saw the previews, but it is so weird. Like you get, like you said, you get used to it, but the initial thing is like, huh, not what I normally associate with Daniel Craig.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know why it surprised me because it's a more refined version of it, but it's very similar to the accent that he just had in Logan Lucky.
That's true. I feel like he looked less like Daniel Craig, like I guess less like James Bond in Logan Lucky though. He
Yeah.
looks kind of Bond like in this, like with a nice suit and stuff. Oh,
Yeah, I really liked the like internal politicking of the family, like who's who's cheating on who's like getting swindled out of their inheritance, who's spying on these people and stealing money from the like the family trust. Like it was all just very interesting, even though like it wasn't directly related to the immediate mystery. Like it was all like, was this a good motive for them? But the audience already knows that they had nothing to do with it. So it's just kind of like colorful background to the rest of the movie, and it really sucked me in. Like, oh man, is the husband or is the wife ever gonna find out about her husband cheating on her? Like, is the family ever gonna find out that she was dipping into the pot? Like it was interesting.
right. And I think they did a good job of so everyone gets cut out. I think they did a good job of making you not feel sympathetic for the family for being cut out because sort of throughout it they were like, Marta, we'll take care of you, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as things did not go their way, you kind of had an idea they weren't great people, but then everyone turned, even her supposed friend who told people about her mom being an illegal immigrant and stuff, like everyone in that family looked bad after that.
Oh yeah, like I was 100% rooting for her from the jump. Like I watched it with I watched it with our editor, and like the whole time I just kept saying like you have all the power in this situation, like because she like the who was it, Michael Shannon came to her and was like, the family has resources, we can get you good lawyers. And I kept saying like the family doesn't have anything, she's got it all. And then even she was like, I have all your resources, and I was like, yes, you get them.
Right. I don't know what state this took part in, but I think it's insane that like this guy just changed a $60 million will on his own where no one saw it. Like I feel like there could be legitimate challenges on that, and they make it seem like it's far fetched that Marta couldn't be an undue influence. Like you can tie that stuff up for years making arguments, and if you get like a sympathetic judge, they might say it. I just thought like it was funny they kind of glossed over it because there was like from a legal standpoint it was a little bit insane how it went down. But I like how they're like talking to the lawyer. They're like, "You're useless," and it's another thing where it's like, "Well, technically, he's not your lawyer anymore. He's like the estate's
Yeah.
lawyer. He's now Marta's lawyer."
Well, do you know who the lawyer was? Because I didn't recognize him, but I saw his name in the credits.
No, I wasn't paying close attention.
The lawyer is Frank Oz, who is the voice of Yoda and the
Oh
voice
wow!
of Ernie from Sesame Street, as well as I think a
Oh,
few other like puppets and Muppets.
that's crazy.
Like
He should have did the Yoda
he
voice.
seemed familiar, and I was like, I know that guy from something. I'll have to look it up. And then when the credits popped up, it said it was Frank Oz. I started laughing. Like, no way, that was Frank Oz.
Uh, so another thing I actually really liked about this movie because, like I said, it seemed like it was more like a cat and mouse type game. They definitely foreshadowed the ending, or they at least left clues in plain sight. Where if you were paying close enough attention, you would know something wasn't right. I don't know if you would necessarily put the pieces together, But there were definitely little clues like I picked up on when they found Fran. Like there's nothing in her note, the envelope, which seemed weird.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
The one I kept coming back to was the girl says that she's woken up by dogs barking at 3 a.m. and no matter like all the like various ways they put the scenario together throughout the movie, with the except the like the very end when they get it right, does not account for that. And so like every time they were like, we got it, I would sit there and I would go, nope, dogs bark at 3 a.m. It's got to be like this person has to be involved somehow because they're the only ones the dogs have barked at so far. And so I kept waiting for that piece of the puzzle to drop in, and then finally it did.
Right. Same where it's like you see him run up to someone and you're like, well, they're not barking at that person. So yeah, that was another good one. So I did like how they sprinkle them throughout. And even like little things that you thought were like for a comedic purpose ended up like being a clue, which I was like, huh, I did not pay close enough attention to that.
Yeah, I was really impressed with this. I was hoping that it was going to be good. I went into it with like kind of like a reserved excitement, and it really worked out. I was happy.
Same. I really like the ending of this one because like the whole time like something like something's a little bit off, but you can't necessarily piece it together. And then like Daniel Craig's talking about that hole within a hole within a hole that's actually a donut.
It's a
like,
donut inside a donut.
right. And so I was like, yeah. And then like once you see the background of him reading a tox report, you're like I started to piece it together then because he's like getting really excited. He's like, no, 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 don't say that. And I was like, oh, okay, so there is something going on here. And then I kind of like conjectured what had happened, but not who had been involved.
Yeah, and I really like what you brought up about him being kind of like the genius detective, but also kind of just bumbling through things, because they even call it out in the movie where she's like, you didn't actually solve this, and he's like, yeah, you're right.
She's like, here, I'm handing you the top. She's like, I can't believe it. I'm literally handing you the final piece of evidence. But then in the end, like he's like, oh no, I knew you were involved from the start because I saw that on your shoe, and then like he like figured it all out. So it's like he was bumbling, but he's bumbled to the conclusion.
And I mean, he
anyways.
kind of says that right at the jump. Like the first time he interviews her, he's like, I don't do anything. I just wait at the end and the answer falls into my lap. Like that is a literal line from the beginning of the movie.
That's amazing. I didn't remember
And,
that.
and like it reminds me of, weirdly, it reminds me of the Guillermo del Toro movie Crimson Peak. Did you ever see that?
No, I haven't seen that one.
It was marketed as like this big ghost horror movie, and one of the first lines of the movie is like, "Ghosts aren't real," and it's like a voiceover from the main character, and she's like reading a novel that she's written, and it's like, there are no ghosts in the story or something. And so the entire way through the movie, they're talking about all these ghosts, and then at the end, like, there were no ghosts. And I was mad about it. And then somebody pointed out, like, it's literally the first line of the movie, Christian. There are no ghosts in the story. And I was like, my God, you're right.
Hiding in plain sight.
So like I really like that like one of his first like real scenes in this movie was like, oh yeah, I don't do things, I just wait for the answer to make itself apparent.
And that kind of goes along with what he is saying about how he solves these. He's like, I just figure out what all the truths are. When I know where they all are, I can follow them to their final destination. And so it's like, once he got that last piece, he's right. It was there. He completed his puzzle or whatever. But how do you think Chris Evans did in this? Just because I really liked him in this. I wanted to hear what you thought.
Yeah, I liked him too. I thought he was, I went back and forth. There were a bunch of people in the family that I was like, oh, they're going to be the good member of the family, and then it turned out to be none of them. But like I thought he did a really good job in the role that he was put in. Yeah, like I know we had said there might be some spoilers, but I'm trying my best not to have any. But even like that beat in the diner where they show it from his perspective and they show it again later, and I was like, oh man, like he did a really good job just in a scene where he's just like staring, saying nothing. Like I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, same. I also like that he's playing just this arrogant jerk, rich family, which is so different from him playing wholesome Captain America. So I thought that was awesome that this is one of his first roles since really finishing up with
Well, we
Marvel. I mean, there's also a line in the movie that I loved where he's yelling about the ancestral home, and Daniel Craig just goes, "Ancestral home, your grandfather bought these from Pakistanis in the '80s." Like thought that was
we
amazing.
were saying that the family might have been angry with him because like he got such a big head after he joined the Avengers. Like he was never the same after he got the shield. Um, but I liked his role a lot. I thought he did a good job when he's first introduced, and they're like, "Did he cut you out of the will?" And he's like, "Yep," and he starts laughing, and I'm like, that's when I knew. I was like, "Oh, I bet he cut them all out," and Chris Evans is the only one that knows.
Right.
And he's just sitting there like waiting for the will to be read with that big smile on his face.
Yeah, man, he was good. I also thought Ana de Armas was an amazing lead in this. I was
Yeah,
really
I thought she
impressed with
did a
her.
good job. I was struggling to think of something else that I may have seen her in, and I think it might be nothing.
I I looked at her IMDb and I've not seen her before, so I that's why I was so surprised. Like she's
Yeah,
been in a couple stuff, but
the only
just
thing I
nothing
had known for
huge.
sure she was in was Blade Runner, the new Blade Runner, and I hadn't seen that. But like, yeah, I can't think of anything else that she was in. She's gonna be in the new James Bond with Daniel Craig again.
Yeah, I'd be excited to see her again. I really was
Yeah,
impressed with her
so
in this one.
that'll be something to look forward to.
So the budget on this was 40 million when the box office after 1 week has been 70 million, so it's definitely performing well.
It's really good.
Do you know how it's faring with critics, Christian?
Yeah, so this is a weird one for us because I feel like usually it's the other way around, but the critics have it at 96%, the audience has it at 93. I feel like most of the ones we do, the audience puts higher, although this isn't exactly like a big difference between the two.
Yeah. So, number one, do you agree with that? Number two, would you recommend our audience check this one out?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Like this movie was great. Everybody in it was great. The cast was big and diverse and fun. Um, yeah, I would recommend it for sure.
Same. I think it's definitely deserves being in the 90s. I had people who normally don't watch movies or talk to me about movies had saw this before me, and they're like, "You got to check it out. It's really good." So I think it has a wide appeal. I think it's shot very well. I really like that they have a lot of flashbacks and whatnot. You're just hearing kind of the story out of order. You have way more background than you normally get in murder mysteries while still hiding everything at the same time. Like it's just so well done. Um, I would definitely suggest our audience check this one out. And finally, Disney Plus has been out for a few weeks now, and I just wanted to give mine and Christian's thoughts on it if we think it's worthwhile to get it if you haven't tried it out yet. And I gotta say, I'll lead us off, Christian. I am more impressed with Disney Plus than I originally thought I would be, because so far I've watched Noelle, The Mandalorian, rewatched some Lizzie McGuire, Smart Guy, and even Stevens. And I think Mandalorian and Noelle alone have made it more worthwhile to watch. What about you?
Uh, I haven't had a chance to get too deep into this yet. I haven't started Mandalorian because I thought it was gonna be like a Netflix everything at once situation, and I could just binge it. So I think I'm gonna wait till all the episodes are out and dive in. But I've heard from everybody that's outstanding. Um, I'm about as impressed with it as I expected to be, which was pretty much middle of the road.
Hmm. So what I like about it so far is they have like a really good Star Wars selection, which I wasn't anticipating, and that might just be hitting me at the right point. I'm still playing Fallen Order. I recently read a Star Wars novel about Knights of the Old Republic. Like I'm in a very Star Wars mood, so that could be weighing my opinion more than I think it normally would. But Mandalorian hits all the right vibes. It is so much better than I thought it would be. However, and I said this before, I don't see myself getting into all the Marvel shows, especially if they all start releasing around the same time. Like I don't have enough time to watch TV in my day. I watch, try and watch movies for this, or I watch maybe an episode when I eat dinner. So I don't know if I'm going to stick up with it, but so far I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I like we just did all those Marvel shows back in or yeah, we just did all those Marvel movies back in April for Endgame, and it made me so like superhero weary that
Yeah.
I have no real desire at this moment to go back and watch anything Marvel. I'm sure that will change once new properties start coming out. Like I was super excited for Spider-Man Far From Home, and I love that. Um, I was irked when Kevin Feige came out and said that if you want to understand the later Marvel movies, you're going to have to watch some of the Disney Plus TV shows, which was, I think, the main impetus for me signing up for Disney Plus at all.
Mm-hmm.
So when those start coming out, I'm sure I'm going to dive more into this. The Jeff Goldblum show I thought was going to be like a nature show. I thought it was going to be Planet Earth, where they send him out into the world to like marvel at geckos and things. I don't really care to watch him discover the like production history of sneakers. That was a little disappointing, but I did go back and I watched like a bunch of episodes of Kim Possible because I was super into that when I was a kid. So that was fun to go back and see those. I did go back and watch a couple of Disney Channel originals. I watched Pixel Perfect, which was an old favorite of mine. So for that kind of stuff, it has been pretty fun. I am mostly just waiting for like some new original properties, and I do want to get into Mandalorian.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on the Marvel stuff, except I think I'm actually more worn out by superhero stuff at this point than you are. I didn't even see Spider-Man. I kind of
Ooh.
wanted to, but we had watched all that, and I was just kind of done at that point after Endgame. I don't think I've seen a superhero movie since Endgame.
Oh man.
I think I watched Aquaman on a plane, but otherwise, like, I have not actually gone to the theaters to watch a superhero movie.
Yeah, like I'm excited for the Loki show. I'm excited for What If. If the Hawkeye show's still happening, I'd be excited for that. I mean, we talked about it when they first did this announcement, but like I don't care about WandaVision even a little bit. Like I can't imagine who wanted that show. Uh, but the rest of them look pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say I'm like 50-50 on if I watch Loki or the Captain America and Winter Soldier, or I guess Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't remember the technical name. Um,
Well, the
Hawkeye was the one that was most interesting to me, just because I wondered if they would do it like the comic book, like the run we had talked briefly. I think we talked about it on the show. I can't remember,
mm,
but I really like that one. But I don't know if they will. My other thing with this too is like it is really good with nostalgia. Like I think we maybe it still is, we're just older, but I feel like we grew up in the heyday of like the Disney Channel originals and everything like
mm.
that. So it's cool being able to watch some of those, but after the nostalgia factor wears off, I don't know if there's a lot there. Like I watched like 4 episodes of Lizzie McGuire and a couple episodes of Even Stevens, and I feel like I got my fill. Same with Smart Guy. Like I don't know if I'm going to be watching the entire series. It's
Oh
mostly
yeah,
just like, oh yeah, I remember this.
that's how I feel 100%. Like I said, I went back and I watched a couple episodes of Kim Possible, and then I was like, all right. I am afraid that the the announcement that you're going to have to watch certain episodes or certain TV shows to get the future Marvel movies, I'm afraid WandaVision is one of them, since she's going to be in the next Doctor Strange movie, and
Right.
that's going to bum me out.
I don't think that's smart on their part, honestly. Like I'm a Marvel fan in general, and I've seen almost all the movies now except for the Spider-Man. I'm probably not going to watch those, and if they're like, "Well, you're not going to understand this movie," I'm probably not going to see the movie then.
Yeah,
Instead of watching like 7 hours of television, like I don't want to watch, 3 movies worth of TV to watch one movie. It's kind of a pain.
yeah, like they had made Agents of Shield dependent on the movies. Like if you wanted to really get the most out of Agents of Shield, at least in the beginning, you had to know what was going on in Thor or in Winter Soldier. Um, Doing that backwards definitely feels like a mistake.
Yeah.
because it's not.
I mean, I get they're trying to force people to get the thing, but I don't. I feel like it's going to have somewhat of a detrimental effect.
Yeah, it's not like to get Endgame you had to have watched all 3 seasons of Daredevil. It was just like this extra thing you could do if you wanted. But I mean, moving from content to like functionality, I'm when I watched Noelle, I stopped. I think 3 times. I watched it in 3 chunks, and every time I turned it back on, I had to figure out where I was. Like I couldn't just hit play and it started again. I had to like scroll for, like it would start with the Disney castle at the beginning, and I had to scroll through and figure out what scene that I had stopped at, and that was a huge
Right.
pain in the butt.
So they finally added like a resume and continue watching function like 3 weeks after it's been out, which is ridiculous to me to roll out without that function. Like it is the most basic thing you need for a player at this point. You just gotta copy Netflix's design. Like, if why not have that?
Yeah, like it seems crazy to me that that wasn't a day one feature. Like my VLC media player on my computer has that feature. If I load up a file that I'd been watching before, a little thing pops up and goes, "Did you want to start where you left off?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." And it's like the fact that this multi-billion-dollar company couldn't come up with something that is on my freeware media player is insane to me.
Yeah. Also, I think the UI in general is just not great for this. It's like jumbled. I don't know. I don't know why. I think Netflix has had the best design until they started auto playing previews.
Yeah,
But I don't know why companies have so much problem with this. Like maybe they fixed it more, but when I was watching the TV shows, every episode had the same picture, and like I said, you didn't have like resume from where you last played, so I'd have to like read all the descriptions to figure out if I was on like episode 6, 7, or 8. Like I couldn't remember where I started, and they all had the same picture, so it was just like just you can work around it, but it's a minor annoyance that should not be in something that you're rolling out.
yeah. The one thing I did like about the UI was that at the top of the page you can separate it out into like the worlds. So like there's a button for like all Star Wars properties, and there's a button for all Marvel properties. Like I thought that was smart. Um, but yeah, once you are in those, the subcategories were all kind of a little strange. Like there was in the Star Wars one, I could find all of the like main story movies in one slot except Last Jedi, and I was like, is Last Jedi not on Disney Plus? Like, do they still have a contract with Netflix or something? And when I searched it, it was there. It just wasn't in like the category with all of the like 7 other Star Wars movies. So like that I thought was strange. There were a couple other things where it was like searching for things without actually using the search bar wasn't intuitive. Because like I almost never use the search bar on Netflix. I feel like I'll be able to like scroll through the categories and find most of what I'd be looking for on a day to day. But yeah, like I clicked Star Wars and I went to the main listing and their newest Star Wars movie wasn't there.
Yeah, that's just crazy. And I understand like they're still rolling it out, but also like you said, they're a $1 billion company. Did they not test this stuff first?
Yeah, it's just I mean, yeah, it like you said, it's still rolling out, and everybody's gonna have like first day hiccups. So maybe come back in like a month and everything will be worked out. But it is surprising that so much of this technical stuff has not been ironed out.
So I have my own ranking on this. I don't know if you use all these or not, but how would you rank this in, I would say now the big four between Hulu, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and Disney Plus? What would you recommend first through four?
I'd probably go Netflix, Hulu, Disney, Amazon.
See, a little bit different than you. I use Hulu way more than I use Netflix at this point. So I'd put Hulu first, I think. It just has more stuff that I like on it. I don't love all the Netflix originals. And then I would say just pure bang for your buck, I would go Netflix. Uh, and then I'm torn. If you already have Amazon Prime, it's just kind of there. I think I would put Disney and Amazon Prime as like a tie for like last.
Yeah, like I've had Amazon Prime and I've watched a couple things on there, but I've never really gotten into the Amazon Prime original TV shows or anything. I watched Lore because it's based on a podcast that I've been a huge fan of for a couple of years, and like that was really nice. But I keep telling myself like I should watch Handmaid's Tale or I should watch Man in the High Castle or Handmaid's Tale's Hulu, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but we
I
watched
mean,
Angels and
either
Demons.
way, like I should watch.
Or sorry, Good Omens. Good
Oh yeah,
Omens.
Good Omens. That's true. And like Man in the High Castle is one that's been on my list for a while. What's Undone is something that I got really excited for when I saw the preview, and it's been out for like 2 months, and I watched like the first 20 minutes. So I don't know what it is. I think I just forget it's there.
Didn't Amazon have The Boys or something, the superhero one we talked
That
about?
was on Amazon Prime. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I do watch stuff on there. But like, I mean, on the day to day, I do kind of forget that it's there. It's usually when I'm like, oh, what should I watch if I'm like in the kitchen making something. Amazon Prime's usually the fourth thing that I'll turn on to look through. Like usually, my first stops are gonna be Netflix, Hulu, and Disney.
Yeah. You know what's weird about Amazon to me? I have a Fire Stick. I feel like Amazon should be the first one I'm using, but their user interface for Prime is so
Yeah, it's not
horrible
great.
that I don't even want to deal with it. Like if you pick a TV show, it'll be like here's season 4 and it's like, well, I want to watch season 1. You can't go to season 1 from season 4. Like it's not all in one place. Like they have different seasons spread about. It's so stupid. And then like they will throw in the stuff you have to pay for with your free things. And it's like I
Hmm.
just want to see the free stuff. Like I don't want to pay you any more money right now. And so their user interface is the primary reason why I don't watch
That was
them.
a big surprise for me the first time I got in there. I was like, oh man, Prime's got all this cool stuff. And then I click on it. It's like, do you want to watch this? Well, that's too bad. You're gonna have to give us $4.99. And I'm like, why is this here?
Right. It's mind blowingly bad interface, I think. All right, guys. Before we head out, no, restart. All right, guys. Now it's time for our Amazon review game. Just a quick recap. Christian is going to read me a 5-star Amazon review for a movie for a movie. I will get 2 yes or no questions to help me narrow it down. I can then request another review, two more yes or no questions, one more review, and then last 2 questions, and then I have to guess. If I get it on one review, I get 3 points, 2 points for 2 reviews, and 1 point for 3 reviews. And we are keeping score for the year, and we're actually coming down to it. I think next week will probably be our last week, so we end on an even number. I am ready when you are, Christian.
Okay. First rating is called Wow. Wow, wow, wow. This is probably one of my favorite movies to come out within the last few years. For those that haven't seen it, I will refrain from being a spoiler. I'm not gonna lie, I've been a huge fan of this series. I think it has more to do with the age rather than the substance, but I had enough to know what was going on in this movie. Really resonated with me because I like it. I've had to claw and scratch for everything in my life. This movie teaches you about perseverance, toughness, love, friendship, family, and honor. And by the end of the movie, you'll be moved to tears, even you, big guy. This movie is definitely not for small kids due to language, violence, but it's still a great movie.
I mean, they're just describing every Fast and Furious about love and family. Clawing your way to the top. All right. I want to pick the notes that I think were hints. I think Big Guy was probably a hint, and the references to love and family, but I did not. I do not know what they're referencing. Was this movie released? Sorry. Was this movie released after 2010?
Yes.
Okay. It's a more recent one. Does this movie star The Rock?
No.
Okay, I need another review then. I thought it might have been Rampage.
Oh man, that would have been a good one. Man, I love Rampage. All right, review number 2. Never had a desire to see this film, and shame on me. It's 3 a.m. in the morning. Oh boy. And I could not get to sleep, so I clicked on it. God truly blessed this movie with all the right elements. He wins you over by being himself. How can he not love him? The director Coogler is a genius, period, end of story. And the lead plays this role to perfection. Even Tessa Thompson adds just the right touch as the girlfriend. This film is truly a treat and will touch the heart of not only boxing fans, but anyone who is a fan of life.
Well, you gave me a lot with boxing. It's like this sounds a lot like Scott Pilgrim, except for all the actors involved with it and the director. Um, is this a Rocky movie?
Yes.
Well, sorry, is this in the Rocky universe? It was. Is it in the Rocky universe? Is what I was trying
Yes.
to ask. If you're like, is this a sequel?
Yes. No.
Is this Creed 2? Oh, is this
Yes.
Creed?
It is the original Creed.
Okay.
I'm like, it's kind of a sequel. No.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's true. But yeah, that is a hard one to be like. It is a sequel, but not
Yeah,
really.
like indirect.
But it's also not technically a Rocky movie, but Rocky's in it.
Everyone's told me these.
I love the first
Everyone's told me
Creed.
these movies are great. I should watch them at some point.
I really want to see Creed 2. It's on. I think it's on Hulu. It's on one of them, and I just have not ever gotten around to it. But the first Creed's a really good reboot of like the Rocky franchise.
It's on Prime because I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, it's solid, especially if you like Rock. I think I like Rocky 1 and 2 the best. I don't like 3, and I know everyone likes 4. I don't like 4 as much as other people.
I gotta tell you,
And then the other ones
in the
are
Rocky universe, I have seen one movie, and it's Rocky Balboa.
Is that like the 7th one or whatever?
It's,
Like
it's
the one where he's old.
Yeah, I think it's the last actual Rocky movie.
Yeah, I mean that's not the worst one, but it's also not the best one. Is that the one where they're like, Rock, you're old. Our game plan is to have you bulk up so he will get tired just punching your face.
Yeah, I mean it's the plot of that Always Sunny episode.
Yes. Okay, yeah. It's not the worst one. The worst one is like I think it's his son or something is involved. It might be Rocky 5. I can't remember. That one's horrible.
Yeah, it was just a weird one. Like my brother-in-law texted me one day, was like, "I'm going to the movies to watch Rocky Balboa. Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've never seen any of these, and I still haven't."
Started with the real winner. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Before we head out, Christian, what will you be checking out this week?
Well, I got pretty well caught up this past week. I watched a ton of movies on Thanksgiving. Not much actually comes out this week. We're getting, I think, the Playmobil movie, which I guess is them trying to cash in on the Lego movie. Otherwise, I'm probably going to be cruising around on Disney Plus. I know I'm going to be watching Let It Snow on Netflix for next week. But I also got the recommendation about a Disney Channel original. It's on Disney Plus about a haunted movie theater, so that'll be fun to watch.
Phantom of the Megaplex?
That's the one.
Yeah. Oh, it is not great on the rewatch. I rewatched it in like high school or college, and I was like, this does not hold up like when I was a kid.
Oh boy, now I'm even more excited.
So this week I am going to hopefully, like I keep saying, beat Star Wars. I finally 100%ed 3 of the 4 planets that I need to, and I'm finally onto that last one. We were pretty busy last week, so I was out of town and I didn't get a chance to play. So high hopes that gets done next week and I can talk about it. It's awesome. Otherwise, like you said, we're watching Let It Snow on Netflix, and then I might try and go to the movies. I want to see Ford vs. Ferrari or Jojo Rabbit, but I know Ford vs. Ferrari is pretty long, and I'm horrible at just motivating myself to go spend like 2.5, 3 hours in a movie theater
Yeah,
on
it's
like
about
a weeknight.
25 minutes longer than
So
it needed
we'll
to
see.
be.
All right, guys, thanks for checking out our episode. If you'd like to contact us, we are you can find us at gambots.blog@gmail.com, or you can reach us on Twitter. We're at Gambots Network. If you're listening to a place where you can either subscribe or like, please do so, or rate even. That helps us with reaching out to more people. But otherwise, thanks for listening in, guys.
Thank you.